What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Saturday so far. And we are now about what three plus weeks removed from the start of NFL free agency, and we're also about 3.5 weeks away from the start of the draft. So I thought now would be a pretty good time to check in on what is going on still in free agency and understand that just because things are not really happening anymore, just because things have slowed down, it doesn't mean it's over. And I've talked about this plenty before, but I want to go ahead and take the opportunity to check in and see how things are doing here. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks, more on them later. But yeah, obviously, free agency stuff has slowed to a trickle. Barely anything happens anymore. Most of the players have been signed. Most of the players that people would want to sign have been signed. So, for understandable reasons, there isn't a lot of gas around this topic right now. So, it's easy to forget that there are still guys available. But I want to take a look at some of the options that are out there. And one thing I want to remind people, we are now closer to the draft, or about as close to the draft as we are to when free agency started. And there is a reason why the Seahawks have done what they've done so far this offseason. They have been very much intentionally not re-signing high value players, or excuse me, signing high value players to replace the players they've lost, because they want to get those compensatory picks in the 2027 draft. And I think that's reasonable. But in order to make good on that, we need to wait until after the draft before we throw any serious money around. So if we sign most of the players that we're going to talk about in this video now, we may lose a comp pick in 2027 because we're replacing the player we lost with a new player. If the player makes enough money, he can interfere with the comp picks. But after the draft, the comp pick stuff turns off. So if we wait, and at this point, we may as well, right? Like, very few players are getting signed at this point. Most teams are probably waiting until after the draft for the same reason. So at this point, why not just wait and see what happens and just let the players just let the players be there when we get there to after the draft. And if they're not there, then oh well. But we went through all this to get the comp picks in the first place. May as well carry it through. Okay, so with that in mind, I want to talk a little bit about a few groups of free agents that still remain that we can talk about. So the first is running back. I still think the Seahawks need a little bit more at running back, and I think they need something kind of specific. They need some speed. Right now, I think they're doing pretty well in the power territory. They've got Emmanuel Wilson, who has some oomph to him, and they're going to get Charbonnet back at some point, and he should provide some of that as well. Halani, he's not a power guy, but I certainly wouldn't look at George Halani and say he's a speed guy. He's just kind of a general running back. So if the Seahawks do not address running back in free agency, or excuse me, the draft, then free agency is the only place to go. And I do think they need somebody to mix things up and change the pace. Is there anybody left? Do you like sports? If you do, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. I've had a great time using Prize Picks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing so easy and fun, and it even makes watching the games way more exciting. And with the cool social feeds feature, you can share lineups with your friends and even follow partners to tail or fade their picks. Obviously, we're in the NFL offseason right now, but we've got basketball, baseball, hockey, all kinds of other stuff, so don't be afraid to test things out in whatever sport clicks with you. You can even pick multiple sports in the same lineup and sweat everything at once. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So, download Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app. And don't forget, Code HMA, that is HMA, gives you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. The answer is not really. There are some notable running backs still here, but I don't see a lot of speed. You've got Amir Abdullah and you've got where'd he go? Where'd he go? Raheem Mostert. Those guys, maybe, but the thing is they're both old, right? Abdullah's about to turn 33, Mostert's about to turn 34. Mostert was really good a few years ago, but in running back years, he may as well have been good 20 years ago. So if you're looking for somebody with speed, I do think that Raheem Mostert is the best you can do, and that is a problem. There are some interesting running backs here, don't get me wrong, but they're not really the kind of player that I'm looking for. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, good players, feels a little redundant. Now, maybe McDonald and Fleury only want bigger, more powerful backs. And if that's the case, then yeah, bring in Nick Chubb. He could be good in a rotation until we get Charbonnet back. But I feel like you're going to want that one running back that can really kind of just take over the game with speed and elusiveness, and it's not here. So what I'm trying to say is try to take care of this in the draft, because if you don't, you may end up really regretting things. It's a little bit more interesting with the other positions I want to look at here. Edge rusher, there is still actually a lot here. There is a lot going on in the edge rusher room in terms of guys you can sign. And some of these guys, I think, would be great for what we're looking for. Like, don't get me wrong, Joey Bosa can be a good player. He can be. I don't know if he will be because he can't stay healthy and there are issues with his game. AJ Epinesa does provide some value. There is something there. Hassan Reddick, guys like Gross-Matos, and there are a few others here that are nice, but I don't know if they're really what we're looking for. We're looking for something a little more specific here. And even in that reading, there is a lot going on here to like. Like Leonard Floyd is still available. Could be something there. He's an older player now, might be interested in trying to pick up a second ring. Cam Jordan doesn't have that ring. He's not on the Saints anymore. He was there 15 years. Maybe he'd like to join a team that is one of the early favorites to win a Super Bowl. And I think he would fit in really well. Von Miller, he can still get it done, man. He's 37 years old, still grinding away. Of course, Jadeveon Clowney is still there. And he might still be there until August, by the way. Dante Fowler Jr. is not bad either. Kyle Van Noy, that's an intriguing one if McDonald feels like he fits his defense. So there's actually a lot here at edge. And I think that is part of the reason why the team hasn't signed anybody yet. And they're comfortable with their edge room being so lightweight right now with no Mafe and who knows what you're getting out of Uchenna Nwosu, because they're confident they can get one of these guys after the draft because there are so many. It's no way they're all going to be gone before the draft is over. So it seems to me that this is kind of where the value is. There are good players available in this class of free agents that have made it to this portion of the offseason. And if you need one or even two, you're going to be able to get them. You just have to be willing to wait. And at this point, why not wait? It is so close to the point where you don't even have to worry about it anymore. All right, so one last position here. When you look at cornerback, there are a lot of players left, but only a couple really do much for me. As of right now, Marlon Humphrey still has not been released. He would obviously be near the top of the list, but Baltimore is holding on to him for the time being. So not going to get into him real quick, but you look at a lot of these guys. The problem is, Lattimore, Diggs, those are not really guys that I want. I don't think they fit, or I don't think they have much left, or both. Jack Jones, not really a fit for me. Adoree Jackson seems like he's pretty well done. Avonte Maddox was never all that great, and I certainly don't really want to jump on that now. The guys that are interesting here to me would be number one, Rasul Douglas, still available. That would be great, by the way. I like Rasul Douglas. He was good last year. He'd be a good fit. I think he would work well with what we need. I think you're doing pretty well with a Rasul Douglas in that role as being like your emergency veteran corner. Again, kind of like your poor man's Marlon Humphrey. I don't completely hate the idea of Adoree Jackson just because he has been good recently, but I do get the sense that his career is kind of wrapped up a little bit earlier than the average NFL career. But maybe you feel like you can get good stuff out of him. L'Jarius Sneed, I think, is an interesting one as well because he was good for many years for Kansas City, and then things went terrible in Tennessee, but mostly because he got hurt. If you bring him in and he stays healthy, I do think you're going to get a decent player. So, in terms of guys who I view as being sound fits, it's mostly those two, and then we'll see what happens with Humphrey. All right, so that is going to do it for this video. I just wanted to kind of survey the remaining free agency landscape and see what's up. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a great rest of your day. More videos soon. We're going to do quarterbacks today, I believe, unless something big happens later. So I know we're not drafting a quarterback this year, but we are going to make the videos regardless. Go Hawks.